Chapter 15. Enkidu! With every step, Inanna's boots plunged a foot into the snow, the frosty drifts of the ice rising all around her. She stayed close to Isis and Horus, who guided the expedition forward, while the remaining 30 followers trudged behind, bracing against the biting winds that had become their constant companion. Weeks had stretched into months, each day bleeding into the next, in this unearthly realm of cold and desolation. At the head of the group was Enkidu, half human, half Neanderthal, who had escaped captivity during the ambush. A native to these parts, he'd been leading Inanna and her followers for some time, charting a precarious path across the inhospitable landscape. Occasionally, Inanna glanced over her shoulder, taking in the sight of her determined but weary people. Frowning against the whirling snow, she pushed forward to walk beside Enkidu. "How far until our next shelter?" she asked, raising her voice to be heard over the howling gusts. "Just over that ridge, Nin," Enkidu answered, shouting back. "We'll reach the ruins of Dilmun by nightfall." Inanna's gaze flicked across the blank horizon. "I've put a great deal of trust in you, Enkidu. My people have suffered too much for us to be deceived now." Enkidu gave a curt nod, understanding the gravity of Inanna's words. His own life hung in the balance if he failed to keep his promise. Horus called from a few steps away. "That fighter we saw before, who was he?" Enkidu shrugged. "Which one? I remember dozens." "The one with the damn tiger," Horus clarified, his voice tinged with frustration at the memory of the vicious beast. "Vargan," Enkidu explained. "He's a clan leader, a respected warrior among the Neanderthals." "And that tiger? His pet or something?" Horus pressed. "It's a saber-tooth, yes. Sometimes Neanderthals tame wild beasts, using the land and its creatures as weapons. It's in their nature," Enkidu said. Isis lifted her brow at the comment. "Humans have done the same in our own past," she pointed out dryly. They resumed their trek, bodies hunched against the relentless gale. The group snaked through a stony pass, following Enkidu up a steep ridge. Clinging to the rocky slope, he ascended first, with Isis and Horus close behind. Inanna and Palios soon joined them, every inch of their progress laborious in the snow. Isis peered over the ridge and looked back to Inanna with a small smile. "He's telling the truth, Nin," she confirmed. Relief flooded Inanna's features as she crested the ridge. Horus and Isis helped pull her to the top, where she paused to catch her breath. Nearby, Enkidu sipped from a canteen of water. "This," he said, gesturing broadly, "is the city of Dilmun." Below, an expanse of ancient ruins sprawled across a valley of ice and rock. Dark, broken silhouettes of what had once been a grand settlement. Snow draped the collapsed walls, and towering structures rose from the white drifts like skeletal remnants of a vanished era. Inanna stared in muted awe. This city is just a legend. No human has visited here in an age. Rising, Enkidu prepared to lead them downward. Legend or not, these ruins date to the last golden age, untouched by the ice, unscarred by natural disaster, and spared from humankind's flaws. Inanna's gaze travelled over the half-buried facades, and she felt a pang at the thought of her own city, someday sharing the same fate. All that remains of a once thriving civilization. Let's hope our homes don't fall to ruin like this, at least not in our lifetimes, Isis said softly. Enkidu nodded. "We can shelter in one of the structures on the outskirts. It should be safe enough for tonight." At Inanna's signal, they descended the ridgeline. With careful steps, the group wove through fragments of toppled columns and fallen sculptures. Here and there, Inanna recognized architectural details that reminded her of Sumer, though many were utterly alien. Statues of huge, vaguely humanoid beings lined a distant boulevard, so unlike the gods and figures Inanna knew from home. Unknown to Inanna and her group, the architecture of the city was strikingly similar to that of the Amazonian settlement unearthed by Olympus Mons. The group continued through it, moving with haste to get out of the freezing climate. "In here," Enkidu called, pointing to the remains of a large building. The travellers slipped inside, grateful for the crumbling walls that offered at least some shelter from the bitter winds. Horus led a small group to secure the perimeter, while Inanna dropped her pack next to Enkidu. "What was this place?" she asked, curiosity edging into her voice. Enkidu moved aside, letting more followers filter into the building. "Your guess is as good as mine, Nin. The ruins have been here my whole life. Legend claims this civilization died out in a worldwide cataclysm, a storm of global fire." Osiris, who had been near the back of the caravan, overheard and approached. The third sun ended in a rain of flame and ash that set everything ablaze, he said. According to old Amazonian teachings, the people survived by transforming into birds to escape annihilation. Inanna blinked. "People can't just turn into birds. We don't have that kind of technology." Osiris offered a faint smile. "It could be symbolic, Nin, a cultural metaphor for transcending the apocalypse. Or possibly it's a literal invention, misunderstood over centuries of oral legend." Quietly impressed by his insight, Inanna nodded. "Either way, it was long ago and they're long gone," Isis cut in. "What matters now is our own safety and the mission at hand." She turned to Enkidu. "Come with me. I have questions." There were no doors to block the building's entrance, so some of the party hung tent cloth over the opening to preserve warmth. Nightfall was nearly complete, and the winds outside had built into an unrelenting howl. Within the structure's great hall, fires crackled in makeshift rings, bringing an almost festive glow to the ancient ruin. It was the busiest, most alive Dilmun had likely been in centuries. In a smaller chamber, away from the bustle, Inanna, Isis, and Horus sat across from Enkidu. Isis produced a mixture of herbs and syrups from a satchel, combining them in a single vessel. "Drink this, Enkidu," she instructed. "It'll taste foul, but Nin needs certainty about you. That's the only way forward." Enkidu's wary eyes shifted around the room. He complied, taking the cup without resistance. "Inanna," Isis said, handing another cup to her, "you'll drink too. Horus and I will remain with you both, to guide the process." "How long will it last?" Inanna asked, eyeing the murky concoction. "For us, 4 hours or so," Isis answered. "Under its spell, you'll experience it as if much more time has passed. It will help you see the truth." Enkidu raised the cup to his lips first, grimacing at the flavour. After a moment's pause, Inanna followed suit, deciding to trust in Isis and Horus. A subtle warmth spread through her stomach, soon radiating into her limbs. She felt the building fade away, replaced by the soft flicker of a single torch and the hum of her own thoughts. Isis's voice echoed from a distance. "You'll speak your truth now, Enkidu. Tell us how you came to be here and what your intentions are." "Inanna, close your eyes and open your senses to Enkidu's spirit. The lotus in this brew will align you to his frequency, letting you feel the honesty behind his words." Inanna obeyed, sinking into a half-conscious state. The fire's embers glowed like portals to another realm, and Enkidu's voice began. "My name is Enkidu. In my world, that means Lord of the Wild. My mother was Neanderthal. My father was human. My homeland is a place of mingled races, humans, Neanderthals, and others in between. We live simply, relying on local trade and basic artistries. My father fell in love with my mother's craftwork. She was a gifted jeweller who bartered her creations. Though we had little, we were happy. When I was about 8, my father sheltered a human traveller separated from his group. The snowstorms had cut him off, so he stayed with us that winter. He carried a few books from your southern world, volumes of language and philosophy. He taught me to read and speak common, told me wondrous tales of your lands. It opened my eyes to life beyond the ice. As Inanna listened, she felt Enkidu's sincerity. She glimpsed flashes of memory, firelight dancing on cave walls, the traveller's worn parchment maps, the silence of freezing nights. Enkidu continued, his voice taking on a strained tone. One day, a band of Neanderthals arrived, outsiders unfamiliar to our region. They disliked seeing humans among us. My mother tried to reason with them, but they demanded we join their cause under a leader named Jark, who aimed to unite all Neanderthals under one banner. My parents wouldn't comply. They planned to flee south. But that very night, the strangers attacked. They killed my father, mother, and sister in cold blood. I was a boy, helplessly hidden in the trees, watching as my life burned away before my eyes. Their leader was Vargan, the Neanderthal you witnessed before. Massive beast of a creature, bearing 3 scars across his face, claw marks from a saber-tooth or bear. I've never forgotten him. This was before he had tamed his pet. The chamber's silence was total. Inanna felt a sorrow so deep it resonated in her bones. At last, Enkidu exhaled. I survived alone. I considered crossing Pannonia. I had neither the supplies nor courage to face it. So, I remained north, drifting from place to place, until recently when the Neanderthals caught me and chained me, intending to march me to Gornaya Shoria as a slave. Isis broke the silence. Well, ironically, you're heading to Gornaya Shoria anyway. Enkidu let out a rueful laugh. I know. I've joined you to end their threat, to make sure others won't suffer what I suffered. I've seen what they are capable of, and I want to do what I can to stop them. Inanna, eyes still closed, felt his words reverberate through her. Something about his resolve mirrored her own need to face her sister. Slowly she opened her eyes, meeting Enkidu's. I'm sorry, she said gently. She placed a hand atop his. I believe you, and I trust you. A flash of relief crossed his features. Thank you, Nin. One day, if fate is cruel, I'll stand face to face with the monster who stole my family. Until then, I'll help you any way I can. We're with you, Inanna affirmed softly. We have the same destination, the same purpose, to stop this conflict before more lives are lost. Isis and Horus watched, quietly satisfied that their concoction had done its work, revealing Enkidu's story in raw, unfiltered truth. Overhead, the Arctic winds roared, but here, in the heart of an ancient ruin, a tenuous bond forged between a displaced half-Neanderthal and a Nin determined to save her people.